Is paying off your house a huge mistake? Let's get right into it. That was a quick story I want to tell you about. A lady who came into her church and wanted to speak to the preacher about this problem. Her husband had just died in his late 40s, so he was relatively young. She had kids that were teenagers, early teens, and she received a huge life insurance check. So the question was, should she use this life insurance check to pay off the balance on her mortgage? So what she did was she listened to her inner circle who told her to pay off the house. And so she did that. The question though was, is that the right move? Because a year later, she had all type of other bills that needed to be taken care of. Taxes on the house, other utilities. Her kids needed school clothes and supplies. There were unexpected expenses that came up that she had to pay for. There's another little example I want to tell you about. Let's say we take this bottle here. We take this glass. Now this bottle, let's say this is the bank account. And this bank account has, let's say, $300,000 in this bank account. And we have this glass, which is the house. The house mortgage balance is $300,000. Should you take your cash and pay off the balance? Well, let's consider this for example. The bottle here is $300,000 cash. Cash money in your bank account. Now, what you could do with this cash is the next question. Should you take this cash and use it to invest in, let's say, a Vanguard account, paying at a whopping 6% compounded annually over 30 years? How much would you have? Well, you would have $1.7 million over that 30 years. Now, some people may argue that that's a very risky proposition because you don't know if the market going to have some lows. Maybe they have some super highs, but it's fickle. Needless to say, Vanguard or the stock market, such as the S&P or index funds, have grown significantly over the 30 years. If you go to a chart on Google, you'll see that every single year the stock price has increased in value, right? But again, who's to say that that's going to continue? Now, the other question remains, if you keep it, the $300,000 in the bank account, and it just sits there, then you can use that cash for unexpected expenses that come up down the road, right? Now, that's another alternative as well. Or you can take this $300,000 and use it to pay the mortgage off. So let's do that. Okay, pour it in here. All right. So we made the decision to empty out our bank account. So we have $0 in our bank account, and we're using this cash to pay down our house. So now our house is fully paid off. We have no more debt on our house. Now, let's break that down. For example, let's break this down. For instance, you have the biggest thing that people say is that you have peace of mind. You don't have to worry about paying off your mortgage. All the other expenses aren't that big of a deal. Taxes and utilities and other lifehold expenses, they aren't that big of a deal. But the fact that you paid off your house, you are set up for the next, however long. You know what I'm saying? You good. You good. The next question is, how much money did you save by paying off the mortgage? Well, I did some quick calculations. Over the next 30 years, you would have saved at least $647,000. Right? That includes principal and interest. The principal amount would be $647,000. The interest amount is $347,000. With that being said, you saved a lot of money. You saved no, the math is wrong. The total amount of savings is $647,000. It's $647,000 you saved in principal and $347,000 you saved in interest. With that being said, you have peace of mind. You're not worried about anything. Now, what are the cons that come with this alternative, right? So I think the con is, I alluded to it earlier, is that you can't you don't have any cash except the money that you get from your job to pay for other expenses, right? What if your kids need daycare? What if you have to use this money for school supplies or school uniforms? Or what if the roof in the house needs to be fixed? You don't have cash for that, right? So you need to have, that's just what it is. Now, the question remains, what is the better decision here? Well, the way I see it is, it all depends on your personal financial decision. I think if you're in your 20s and 30s, then you can maybe take on this type of risk in terms of not paying the house off and using that cash to put it in an S&P to let it work on your behalf. However, if you're in your 40s and 50s, maybe you value financial security more so than making speculative, risky investments in, let's say, the S&P. Okay, so it all depends on your age, and it all depends on your financial tolerance, right? So nonetheless, you have to make that decision for yourself. For me, the way I see it is, I think that you can also do like a hybrid strategy where you pay off a part of your mortgage and you invest some of your money in the S&P to have some sort of financial flexibility there. Because at the end of the day, if you can't pay your mortgage, one thing's for sure, the bank is going to come take your house. So having paid off half of that, at least you have the opportunity to sell it and have some equity come back if you get into some financial problems. So nonetheless, take a look at my other video to explain more about real estate. And on that note, peace and love. Take care. It's a good video.